It is the 41st millennium. Mankind battles for survival across the universe, besieged on all fronts by the heretic, the mutant, and the alien. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. One faction of Space Marines stands amidst the chaos, the mightiest of the Emperor's warriors, and a beacon of light in the darkness. This legion, the 9th Legion of Adeptus Astartes, the Blood Angels. Well, well, well. The words of my favourite YouTuber, Chapter Master Valrak. Well, well, well. Did I not tell you guys these guys were going to be 45 points per model on the 19th of August? None of you guys believed me. Nobody believed me. 19th of... How big can I make this text? 19th of August. 19th of... Oh, I'm probably going to crash my computer. I better not do that, eh? Hello. Ooh. Lag, 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 lag. There we go. Alrighty then. Let me put the green screen away. That easy. Good Chaparoonie those, yeah, exactly. We're so back. 19 points per model. What did I tell you? That's what I said. I've been out all day. I decided to take the kids swimming and do some Christmas shopping today because I was off work. Because I thought the balanced data slate was coming tomorrow. GW Insider confirmed. Yeah, and I said 45 points per model, and nobody begged for memberships. Unfortunately, I don't have any other secrets. I made an educated guess 2 months ago, and apparently it was right. So I'll just ride the wave of righteousness now for like I don't know. I'll ride it as long as I can. I'm sweating, man. I just ran inside, put the kids up to bed. I literally done nothing. So I looked at the data slate very quickly earlier on my phone. There was a couple of things that are interesting, so we're going to try and cover all. Hello, chat. If you do enjoy tonight's stream, remember, please hit the like button. I will try and answer questions. Hopefully we can have quite a good discussion. And, yeah, I've got all the tabs open, so we should be able to look at everything. I've got my codex here as well, in case anything comes up. We'll maybe start with FAQ and then move on to points next. Would that make sense? In case there's any... I think they actually missed something in the FAQ, right? Because there's a question about the Death Company Dreadnought that I thought that they were going to answer that they didn't answer. So I think they missed that. So we can touch on that as well. And yeah, we'll be very happy. Christmas shopping in October. Yeah, we do it before it gets mental, dude. Like, do you ever try and shop in November and December with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old? It's bad enough. It was bad enough shopping today with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. But it's done. It's done for the year. So, okay. So I actually haven't really read this article, but I have looked at the data slate, right? So I'm sure you guys are all ahead of me, but maybe I'll have seen something that you guys have missed. So, all right. So we've got to put down our dice and measuring tapes. We've got to stop priming miniatures and get calculators and army building app ready. I have seen a bunch of people asking when the Blood Angels stuff will be updated in the app. I think the app will probably get an update on Friday or Saturday. I think until your app store tells you there's a new update, it's going to be the old points. So the app will have to update from the app store. When that happens, you'll get the new points. Okay? Right, so for this balance slate, the focus is on external internal balance adjustments, overperforming units for the Saritas, the Thousand Suns, the Ricari, and Space Wolves. Particularly Thunder Wolves are receiving an adjustment. I was really surprised they didn't call out Assault Intercessors with jump packs here. Orcs and Gene Stealer cults have been struggling, so we made a few adjustments there. We're only going to be covering Blood Angel stuff, so that's fine. Our next update later this year will bring a balanced data slate alongside the updated field manual as well as further additions. So there will be another update this year. Interesting. Okay, so we can find all the downloads. So where is the FAQ? Let's start with the FAQ. There we go. Okay. It's already, right, some people's app store has already updated, has it? Like I said, I've been out literally the whole day. I just got home at like 9 o'clock, took the kids out of the car, put them to bed. I'm not seeing an update on my phone yet. No, I'm not seeing an update. So I guess some people maybe... Oh, I am seeing an update. The Warhammer 40,000 app. It's ready. Okay, so maybe if you haven't got your app updated, now's the time to do it. Looks like maybe it got released this evening. It wasn't available earlier today. Okay, so version 1.0 of the Codex Blood Angels supplement. New or revised text is presented in red. So detachment restrictions, page 70, 72, and 74. I think this is pretty obvious. I don't think anyone was actually doing this. You are no longer allowed to attach non-Adeptus Astartes units. Your army can include Blood Angels units, but cannot include any Adeptus Astartes units drawn from any other chapter. I think everybody knew that. I don't think anyone was confused by that, right? I'm more confused that they added it, to be honest. So the 3 Blood Angels are only detachments. We'll need to only use Blood Angels units or Adeptus Astartes units, but you cannot draw from any other chapter. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone was doing that. Death from the Sky stratagem, page 75. This is an angelic host stratagem. When the movement phase after a jump unit has advanced or fallbacks, target that jump unit. Voice, thanks so much for subscribing. Death from the Skies. Use it in your charge phase. 1 Adeptus jump unit for your army that's fall back. Until end of the turn, your unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in which it advanced or fell back. Oh, right, when you're charged. Oh, yeah, this was wrong. Okay, so they've just literally fixed that you use Death from the Skies in your movement phase. It made no sense that it said your charge phase. I think it's just a typo. So again, I don't think this confused anyone. I think everybody knows when this stuff should be done. Page 84, Sanguinary Guard. Yeah, a few people mentioned this. We thought Sanguinary Guard were only going to be allowed a single Infernal Pistol, which people had highlighted as a little bit weird, because Sanguinary Guard did get 1 Infernal Pistol in each sprue. So they have fixed this. Every 3 models in the unit. So you get 1 whole extra Infernal Pistol in your squad of Sanguinary Guard. So you went from 1 Infernal Pistol and 5 Angelus Bolt Guns to 2 Infernal Pistols and 4 Angelus Bolt Guns. I mean, I think you should always take the Infernal Pistols, but it's super minor, right? Very little change there. But I guess an extra Infernal Pistol is nice. And any number of models can have their Incarnate Blade replaced with 1 Incarnate Spear. Yeah, it was a bit weird before, where, like, if you wanted to replace the blades with spears, you had to do it for the whole unit, right? Like, all models in this unit have the blade replaced with 1 spear. So they've changed it so it's model by model. So, I mean, this is good as well. A few people actually thought they might have a problem here where they might say that the banner can only go with the spears, but it seems like they've left the banner. If you didn't watch my video a few weeks about the Sanguinary Guard, the spears are like a more... like, you almost never want the spears. As cool as the spears might look, I think the swords are better in like 98% of the situations. It will be 3 Infernal Pistols when you include Dante and the Captain, yes, and Dante does have that sustained 3 Infernal Pistols, so I guess... Is it sustained 3? I barely ever roll a 6 with Dante, maybe it's sustained 2. It is... Sustained D3, okay, that's what it is, yeah, it's a bit more random. Okay, an FAQ, this has been put in a bunch of... Can I use the Sanguinar's Miraculous Savior to set him up with an engagement range of 2 or more enemy units, provided at least one of those enemies made a charge move? Yes, you can, so we know he can miraculously appear. And can the Sanguinar arrive from reserve during the first battle round? I mean, yes, he can arrive from reserve, if the mission rule says you are. So if you're in a tournament or you're playing like Leviathan or the Pariah Nexus, so if you're actually playing like tournament rules, then no. He arrives in turn 2 or 3 exclusively, and he has to obey like standard strategic reserve rules. So I mean, I think most people knew that as well, but they've called it out again. And then the one thing that they didn't call out, which I'm actually surprised they didn't call out, so I guess I know Blood Angels better than GW. I really thought that they would FAQ Driven by Fury on page 88 for the Death Company Dreadnought, because the Death Company Dreadnought says, in your opponent's shooting phase, each time an enemy is shot, if this model is hit by one or more of the attacks, it can make a Driven by Fury move. To do so, roll a d6. I had 2 to the roll. This model moves a number of inches up to the result, but must finish as close as possible to the nearest enemy unit, excluding aircraft. A model cannot make a Driven by Fury move while it's battle shot or within engagement range or one or more enemy units, and it can only make 1 Driven by Fury move per phase, but we do not know if it can finish a Driven by Fury move in engagement range, right? Like, I thought that they would FAQ that, because it doesn't specifically say. So can you finish a Driven by Fury move in engagement range, or can you not? Because it says you can move as far as you can. It must finish as close to the enemy unit. So, I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like you can finish the move with an engagement range, but it doesn't actually specifically say. So, it's a bit of a doozy. I thought they would FAQ that. I felt like that was a question that a lot of people asked. 6 a.m. in Australia. Good morning, then. You're waking up to new points. We've only just started. We're just talking about the Codex supplement. I've been out all day. I only walked in the door like 10 minutes ago. The second this dropped, I'd already said to my wife, I was like, I'm going to do a stream on Thursday afternoon at like 3 o'clock. As soon as this drops, I want to go live. Is that okay? And my wife was like, yeah, that's okay. And then they release it like a whole day early. And they released it pretty early today, actually. I think it was out at like noon. Surge loves their own FAQ. Surge moves for their own FAQ. Is there a bit about Surge moves somewhere else, Marius? Terran says you can do it turn 1 if you start him on the board with Angelic Host. Go first and put him into Deep Strike. I think that's pretty gamey, Terrence. I'm not 100% sure. I feel like that's valid. I think if you were going to try and do that, you need to talk to your tournament organizer. Good evening, Colin. How you doing? Do you know Death Shroud got cheaper? Well, apparently Sanguinary Guard got cheaper, Colin. I haven't actually started looking at the points. We're gonna look at it in a minute. Do I have a painting guide? Not right now. I will make one. I'll occasionally make painting videos. There is a couple on the channel. It's not something that I excel at, right? So no one ran the Death Company Dreadnought at 220 points. So not enough people asked the question, says Terrence. I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, no one was running at 220 points. Is it going to be run now? I guess we'll come to that. So what will we look at next? Yeah, do you know what? I opened Codex Space Marines. There's a couple of FAQs in Codex Space Marines. Has anyone looked at these? Do any of them necessarily touch on Blood Angels? I feel like most of them don't. So I'm not going to spend any time on Codex Space Marines unless anyone in chat shouts at me that we should cover Codex Space Marine stuff. I think most people aren't using any of this for Blood Angels, right? So, points then. Is that where we want to go next? Yeah, I do battle-ready painting, which is very... I suppose my painting style is actually kind of beginner-friendly, so yeah, I should make a couple of... Surge moves is in the rules commentary. Thank you. Okay, so there is a thing about surge moves in the rules commentary. Well, there you go. I just thought that... Do you know what? All these different documents sometimes can make it quite... It can make it quite intimidating for a veteran player. I mean, I don't know how new players even... I think 40k might be quite hard to get in. Might be getting quite hard to get into. Okay, so... Some rules enable units to make out-of-phase surge moves when certain abilities trigger. Unless otherwise stated, the following restrictions apply to all such moves. Each unit can only make one surge move per phase. A unit can make a surge move, while it's battle shocked. A unit cannot make a surge move while it is in engagement range of one or more enemy units. Okay, that still doesn't cover the fact, like, can you end a surge move in engagement range of another unit? There's a lot of stuff about surge moves. Hold on, I'm going to read this last paragraph. If my opponent used a fire overwatch stratagem to shoot a unit from army that was destroyed, one or more of its models, and I use a rule that enables them to make an out-of-phase surge move that brings my unit within engagement range of one or more enemy units, can any models of my unit continue to resolve the move that triggered that use of the fire overwatch stratagem? No. If your opponent used the fire overwatch stratagem at the start of your unit's move, and that surge move was insufficient to bring your engagement range, your unit cannot continue to resolve the original move as normal. Then, because they don't specifically say you can't do it, I think it sounds like you can surge into engagement range, right? I mean, Khorne units can surge into engagement range. Is a surge move considered a normal move? That's a good question, Colin, because if it was considered a normal move, normal moves cannot end with an engagement range, right? I don't think it necessarily says if it's considered a normal move. But maybe, Colin, maybe you're right here. Look at that. We've got the Death Guard player in the chat helping us out. In your opponent's phase, you make it's called a Driven by Fury move. If your model was hit by one of those attacks, it can make a Driven by Fury move. See, it's a completely different move. To do so, roll when this model moves a number of inches up to the result, and it must finish as close as possible to the closest enemy unit. A model can't make a Driven by Fury move if it's battle shocked or with engagement range. So it doesn't say... It's not a normal move, it's a surge move. But surge moves don't specifically say that they can't be finished in engagement range. So what's the verdict? You can do a surge move into engagement range. Is that the verdict? Anyone disagree with that? I guess that's... I was going to say there's 210 players here in the chat. Does anyone agree with that? It makes sense to treat it as the same as the Berserkers. The Berserkers can surge into you, yes. They can wrap you up in combat. But the Berserker rule specifically says you can end in engagement range. Yes, that's the problem. That's why I thought they would FAQ this today. Our opponents say that you can't end in engagement range. Yeah, of course the opponents say that, right? Yeah, I just thought they would FAQ it. I really thought they would clarify it. I thought that was the biggest question mark around the Blood Angels Codex, honestly. Okay. They didn't clarify it. Maybe we need to get some people from the community to go over to the Games Workshop website and send them in a question. Is the banner a must in the Sanguinary Guard unit? Yeah, well, you'd be stupid not to take the banner, right? It gives everybody an additional point of OC. And even if you're battle shocked, your Sanguinary Guard and the character attached still have OC. So yeah, I mean... The banner is a must, essentially, and it's free. You don't pay any points for it. Okay, so let's talk about Codex Blood Angels and talk about what's changed. Because there has been a few changes. Some are interesting, some are a bit questionable, I guess. And let's start with... let me get the points in the Codex. So Astrath has remained unchanged at 105 points. Mike shouting that the points are live in the app now. So yeah, I think the app is available to update. Some people are updating it already. I'll update it after my stream. But yeah, update the update the app. Hopefully you'll get the new points costs in there. You can now, someone's saying as well, you can now redeem the code in the back of your codex in the app, right? So Astroth remains unchanged at 105 points. I think he is still very competitive. Totally run him. He's absolutely fine to run. The Ball Predator moves up 10 points. They did buff it a little bit, right? Like, all its guns now have assault. It gets to reroll its advanced roll. Is that correct? I must admit, I don't play the Ball Predator too much, but I mean, the buff of giving it all its guns assault, or the Flamer has assault, the Heavy Flamer has assault, the Heavy Bolter has assault. I suppose the Hunter Killer Missile for some reason didn't get assault, the Storm Bolter didn't get assault. But all the main weapons you're firing most of the time got assault, and you can reroll your advance. I guess if you like Ball Predators, it went up 10 points. I don't know if it needed to go up 10 points, but I guess Ball Predators were kind of meta. A lot of people were using them, so it's up 10 points. It's probably fair. Sometimes they nerf things just because a lot of people use them. They don't necessarily have to be crazy strong. I don't necessarily feel like Ball Predators were crazy strong. I never use them. I think you can take them or you don't need to take them. Blood Angels typically don't have all that many problems killing infantry. This is a tank that kills infantry. Usually we can do that fine, I feel like. The Blood Angels captain went up 5 points to match the exact cost of a regular Space Marine captain. So I think that's totally fine. I mean, it makes sense. He should have always been 80 points. No change there. Mephiston stayed at 125 points. We did a video on Mephiston just Friday past, and we said at 125 points, he's kind of interesting. He doesn't have the greatest damage output, but he is super survivable and he can do lots of different things. So I think Mephiston at 125 points, I think he's playable, I think he's decent. Commander Dante at 130 points. I actually really like Dante's melee now, right? Like 9 attacks at strength 10, AP 3, lethal hits, +1 to hit. I think he's really good for leading the Sanguinary Guard. So in a roundabout way, Dante probably got stronger because the Sanguinary Guard got cheaper, but we'll come back to that. A Death Company captain on foot actually dropped 15 points. So he's 70 points. Personally, I can't really see myself playing this character because I don't think he synergizes that well with Death Company. There's some quirky stuff the Death Company captains can do. I guess this maybe helps the Death Company detachment a little bit. Whether or not people actually lean in and play the Death Company detachment is another question. But I guess this guy came down 15 points. The Death Company captain with the jump pack came down 15 points as well. I mean, they're fine, but for me, the problem with fielding Death Company characters is, or Death Company without chaplains is, they have no OC and they can't ever fall back. So you kill an opponent on an objective, you still don't hold the objective, you get into a bad combat that you need to fall back from, you can't fall back from the combat. So I actually just genuinely like Death Company if there's not chaplains around. So we'll do another video where we tier list everything. These guys coming down 15 points is fine. I don't think it's going to change a whole lot of things. I can't imagine seeing too many people playing Death Company captains with jump packs or not
Terrence
without
Watkins
jump packs.
donated $5 via Super Chat. INVICTORWARSUIT really cheap. Turn 1 charge Terminators cheaper ATV backline and actions at 60 suppresses really cheap.
Invictor Warsuits are really cheap. Apparently my bot had to spell that out. Yeah, we'll get to Codex Space Marines stuff in a minute. Thanks so much for the super chat. I did notice Invictor Warsuits had dropped in points. I must admit, I don't know their profile off the top of my head because I never play them, but I'll grab Codex Space Marines once we're done with the Blood Angels points, and we'll look at that as well. It's sad that chaplains didn't get the Death Company keyword leading Death Company, so they still can't get the Death Company enhancements. Yeah, these Death Company captains are in a weird spot because you're going to want to put the enhancements on them to get those extra abilities. I really think they should have maybe just given the Death Company captains the same rule as the chaplains, right? Like, just let them have some OC. Because if you attach, you know, like, are you going to attach a Death Company captain to a Death Company Marines? You're going to be 300 points for a unit with zero OC. To me, it's insanity. I wouldn't even spend like 150 points on a unit with zero OC, right? I mean, some people did with Death Company Dreadnoughts, but I mean, I think that's different, right? A Death Company Dreadnought is a missile. It's going to die. It's going to try and trade. And I think Death Company Dreadnoughts before had almost like those guaranteed reserve charges, which they don't have now and they cost more. So next up, well, let's talk about the Death Company Dreadnought. It was 220 in the book, which is insanity. It has dropped to 180, so it's still 20 points more than a Brutalis. And I was thinking about this a little bit. Because I was thinking, like, if you charge with a Brutalis Dreadnought, right? You do a bunch of mortal wounds when you charge, and then you can tank shock for, like, another 3 or 4 mortal wounds, and then you swing. And the Death Company Dreadnought, what's it got? So it's got reroll hits on melee. It's got the Driven by Fury move, but your opponent could just choose not to shoot. Like, if I was playing against Death Company Dreadnoughts, I'm not going to shoot them, because I don't want them to get 8 inches of bonus movement against me. So your opponent can completely ignore their bonus move. Or only shoot them if he's confident that they can kill them, right? And then a 6-up Feel No Pain on 12 wounds. Well, if you roll 12 dice, statistically, how many 6-ups do you get? You get 2. So technically, I guess the way you could look at that is you have 2 extra wounds over a Brutalis Dreadnought. So you have a special rule that probably isn't going to get triggered all that much. You have 2 extra wounds. And you have some reroll hits. But I don't think the reroll hits will make up for the potential, like, 6 mortal wounds that the Brutalis gets. What is the... 1 second, the Codex Space Marines. Not many people play Brutalis, and I've only played it once. Let me grab my Codex Space Marines. Sorry. I think it's just like you roll a D6. It's guaranteed mortal wounds with the Brutalis, is it not? Just like D6. Ballistus Dreadnought, Redemptor Dreadnought, Brutalis Dreadnought. Each time this model ends a charge, roll a D6. On a 2 to 3, it's D3. On a 4 to 5, it's 3. On a 6, it's D3 plus 3. So, statistically... On a 2 to 3, it would be 2 mortal wounds. On a 4 to 5, it would be 3 mortal wounds. On a 6, it would... So you do, like, 3 mortals. So basically the equivalent of, like, 1 swing of the Brutalis. The Brutalis gets 7 attacks.
I have awoken.
Mars! Seth can join Bladeguard now. Seth doesn't exist now. What are you on about? Oh, Legends! Did they update Seth in the Legends? Did they really? So it's got the same number of attacks. So the Brutalis, like, hits 1 less time, but does 3 mortal wounds. I don't know. I feel like the Death Company Dreadnought's still overcosted at 180. I'm sorry. I'm trying to decide if I would ever take it over the Brutalis for 160. I don't think I would. I really don't think I would. A 6-up Feel No Pain is a bit better than 2 wounds, since each saved wound gives you a buffer to roll against in the future. Each saved wound gives you a buffer to roll again in the future. What do you mean? I'm not understanding. Okay, so the Death Company Dreadnought's at 180. I feel like we're going to talk about Assault... I think he's got the same problem as Assault Terminators, right? Like, I just don't think you ever take him over the Brutalis. And the fact that he's 0 C and the Brutalis is 4. So the Brutalis is charging in, doing 3 mortal wounds, tank shocking for another 3... So the Brutalis is charging in, He can do like 7... He does 7 to 12 mortal wounds when he's charging in. Something like that, right? So if you're charging in, doing 7 to 12 mortal wounds, and then you're swinging 7 times at strength 12, AP 2, 3 damage, and you're not out OCing your enemy at that point, then it's pretty tough to out OC that enemy, I would feel like. Whereas the Death Company Dreadnought maybe does the tiniest little bit more damage. I think it's minor, but then you don't take the objective anyway because you're 0 OC. So yeah, I think this Death Company Dreadnought's too expensive. Even in the Death Company detachment, I don't think it's that good. He doesn't get too many bonuses from the Death Company detachment anyway, right? What is the Death Company detachment? It lets him reroll wounds. Well, his fists are twin linked, so he's already rerolling those wounds. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Death Company Dreadnought's a miss for me. I can't... Mine's still on the sprue. I've got a Brutalis. I'm happy I've got a Brutalis. My Death Company Dreadnought's going to remain on the sprue. Okay, next up, Death Company Marines. What's happened to these guys? They are 90 or 180 points. So they've gone down 5 points for the 5-man, 10 points for the 10-man. Is anyone going to field Death Company Marines over Assault Marines? Or Assault Intercessors? I think it's a tough question. You can take 1 Infernal Pistol. You can take 2 Eviscerators. You can take a Power Fist. So basically the difference between these guys and Assault Intercessors on foot is 2 Eviscerators. That's it. So you're paying 15 more points per 5 to get potential stained hits when you're wounded. You're losing all your OC, you're getting some reroll hits, and a couple of Eviscerators. But you need a Chaplain again, or they have no OC. I don't know. Maybe they'll be good. For me, at 180 points, I would say I'm still not playing them. Assault Intercessors just feel like they're better and they do more. And I think the fact that we've got that really nice enhancement you can attach to the captain means that you probably want to attach it to the captain and not... You know, you probably want to give Rage-Fueled Warrior to your captain. He's attached to the Assault Intercessors. I feel like that squad does more damage. It's got more OC. You've still got Oath of Moment, so you can use that on them. 180 points. Don't know. That's 30 more points than 10 Assault Intercessors. I feel like it's a lot of points. And 10-man... Yeah, well, we're going to get to the interesting thing with 10-man squads. Death Company Marines with bolt rifles, they are the same price as this. I don't honestly know why you would ever take these guys. I mean, if you are going to take Death Company, you probably want the guys with the chainswords, right? If they're the same cost. The Death Company Marines with bolt rifles they're a strange unit to even have. Alright, let's talk about Death Company with jump packs. And this is one of the most interesting things they've done, and they've done this with Assault Intercessors as well. And I didn't notice this when I first glanced at it. The 5-man squad is like a good 20 points more expensive. Like running 2 5-man squads is 20 points more expensive than running 10. So they're penalizing you for running these guys in 5. So they're penalizing MSU armies, and Blood Angels were very good at running like a lot of MSU, right? And the reason I guess they're penalizing you for that is because in a 5-man unit, I believe you can have like 1 extra special weapon. So for example, in the 10-man unit, you get 3 Power Fists, you get 2 Eviscerators. So half the guys have special weapons. Or half the guys have 2 damage weapons, I guess. In the 5-man unit, you got 1 guy with a Power Fist, you got 1 guy with an Eviscerator, and then you can take 1 more special weapons, so you'd probably take another Power Fist. So you basically have 3 guys out of the 5 with special weapons. So you're paying, Nemesis is right, thanks for shouting that out. You're basically, if you look at this proportionally, 60% of the guys in the 5-man unit have a 2 damage weapon, 50% of the guys have a 2 damage weapon in the 10. I honestly think where it is right now is I just think Death Company need to be played in 10s now, because 5s aren't as useful as they were before, you know? Because a 5 before could still have 20 Power Fists. It was very, very good. Now, 20 Power Fist attacks, sorry. Whereas a 5 now has 8 Power Fist attacks and 4 Eviscerator attacks. Is much less likely to be able to wipe an enemy unit, which means it gets hit back. And when it gets hit back, it usually gets hit back pretty hard. So, in fact, I kind of feel like this is a mute change, because I honestly think Death Company with jump packs, MSU means minimum size unit or multiple small units. It kind of stands for either. It just means that you're like running your units in the smallest size or lots of small units, essentially, right? I actually think like it's the wrong choice now. And the tournament that I won in June, I ran 2 5-man Death Company units. But like quite often those 5-man Death Company units needed every single last Power Fist.
I have awoken.
We're going to touch on suppressors, Cambo. Don't worry. Thanks so much for being a subscriber for 25 months. I do appreciate it. We got 300 people watching live. We got 87 likes, guys. If you would hit the like button at some point during the stream, I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So yeah, I actually think like so bear in mind, right? Like I was running 5-man Death Companies with a chaplain. So I had 20 Power Fist attacks, re-rolling all hits. I've got +1 to wound permanently. And sometimes I felt like you needed every last hit from those Power Fists. Sometimes you need the chaplain to actually do some damage to finish off a unit, right? So if you've basically taken that from 20 Power Fists, and let's just for argument's sake say the Eviscerator is the same as a Power Fist, because statistically it's super similar, right? Eviscerators only hit on 4s, but they crit on 6s, whereas like Power Fists just hit on 3s. So, you hit on 1 less, but your 6s are crits. So the Eviscerators and Power Fists are super similar, right? If you math it out, they're like minute percentages different. So if a Death Company with 5 guys now only has 12 2 damage hits, which they do, I think there's a lot of times you'll charge those 5 guys into enemy models or enemy units, and you will not kill the enemy. And then they'll hit you back really hard, and that Death Company will not have done what they needed to do to like win you a tournament or win you a game of Warhammer. So I think 5-man Death Company is wrong to run now. And bear in mind, I was running 2 5s, right? Like that was my tournament list, 2 5s attached to the chaplain. I've ditched that, and I'm going 110 attached to Astaroth. I think we could touch on Lamarta's next because he's the next unit. He's gone up 5 points. I think that's minor. I think Lamarta's is a great unit. Oh, he's gone up 10 points, sorry. I made a video on him a few weeks ago. I think him and Astaroth are both brilliant attached to 10 Death Company. And I think that's the way you should play Death Company now. You should pick Lamarta's or Astaroth and attach them to 10. And if you want to, I think you could take both, right? Like, I think if you take both, you might struggle to put like a big unit of Sanguinary Guard in your list as well, or another big like Death Ball unit, whatever you want to call. Like, it's typically we call like a 10-man plus a guy, like a Death Star unit. Like, it's a really expensive unit, but it can jump around and kill things. So, yes, I think you can run Astaroth plus 10 Death Company, Lamarta's plus 10 Death Company. You could put them all in reserve. Turn 2, you could Rapid Ingress one squad. Turn 3, you could Rapid Ingress the other squad. That means they both get their Alpha Strike. They both hit as hard as they possibly can. I think both's really strong. I think there's almost no... I think Astaroth and Lamarta's are so similar, they should actually probably be 105 points each. But I think 5 points is absolutely minor. Is the standard chaplain still worth a look? Yes. Because +1 to wound all the time is very good. And the thing about the standard chaplain that we're not talking about yet is you can give him that fight first enhancement. And if they charge the Death Company, fight first can actually be really nice. The nice thing about Astaroth, I guess, is he gives you that 4-up fight on death. So 50% of your Death Company fight on death when they're led by Astaroth. He gives you the devastating wounds on the charge. So like right now, I'm playing more Astaroth. But I think if you like Lamartas, I think he's a great pick as well. 5 points more expensive, but I think it's absolutely minor that they cost a different amount of points. Okay. Yeah, so if I was running Death Company, which I am in my current list, and I must say I've only played 3 games of Liberator Assault Group, but I've played against like 3 stupid armies. Say stupid armies. I played against Colin's Death Guard. He brought a Knight Tyrant, which is the equivalent of a Castellan. I played Brett's Orcs. He brought an 800-point Stomper. And I played against Andrew's Knights, and he brought like 4 or 5 500-point Knights, all with like toughness 12, 24 wounds. And I only had 1 Death Company in my list in all those battles, 1 10-man led by Astaroth, and I won all 3 games. So I think, and when I was playing at the Death Company, were actually 20 points more expensive. They were, or were they? Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were 230. Was it 230? What were the Codex? Okay, so they were 10 points cheaper. But yeah, so I think Astaroth, Lamartas, 10 Death Company. That's the right way to play them. I mean, I guess if you only have the points for 1 squad, it's not the worst thing in the world to run the 5-man at 130 points. I think that's probably still somewhat competitive. But I think, like, Games Workshop have made this conscious choice to penalise you for running these in 5s. And I think the reason they're penalising you running them in 5s is because those are, like, units you can trade really, really effectively. Like, we're going to touch on Assault Intercessors with jump packs in a minute, probably. And they are a trading unit as well. And, like, they've just really penalised those units that trade really, really well. Death Company with jump packs, Assault Intercessors with jump packs. You know, you trade them away, you get points. Simple as well, right? Sanguinary Guard. Yes, that's how we open the stream. So Sanguinary Guard are 45 points per model. And I was trying to think about this when I was driving home tonight. How do I feel about them at 45 points per model? I think they are still very expensive at 45 points per model. So I've been playing them at 50 points per model. So I guess on the plus side, I've been playing them as like 300 points for 6, sorry. And now they're 270 for 6. I think they are going to still feel super expensive when they start dying. For example, I think a Stompa killed 4 or 5 of them in a single round of combat in the Orc game, because the Stompa's got like strength 10, flat 3 damage, some nonsense, right? Like 10 attacks. And he killed like 5 Sanguinary Guard in a single round of combat, and I feel like that's still going to feel like super, super expensive. So I guess, how do I feel about running, like, am I still going to run 6 plus Dante? So 6 plus Dante is 400 points. Is that good? Yes, I think that's very good. Am I going to run a second 6? Possibly not, because I like to include some shooting in my army lists. If you watch my videos, you'll usually see I like to include a couple of cheap tanks, just because I like to have some las cannons or something like that. Maybe we're going to get to suppressors in a few minutes. But would I consider running 12 Sanguinary Guard right now at 270 points? I feel like I wouldn't. I feel like, and I was actually kind of in my head thinking, like, you know, Sanguinary Guard plus a captain, you know, a captain with a jump pack is kind of the same points, give or take like 10 points, as like Astaroth plus the 10 Death Company, or Lamartas and the 10 Death Company. But I just think they're different enough that I like having both. So I would have to either give up all my fire support and go 100% into a melee-only list. And I actually don't love playing melee-only armies. Even though I play Blood Angels, I like to have a little bit of shooting in my lists. It's personal opinion. So you get an extra, it's worth saying, yes, you get an extra Infernal Pistol. So they went down 30 points, you've got an extra Infernal Pistol. It's good. I'm happy enough with it. But would I run more than 6? I feel like I'm not going to. Maybe you guys will run more than 6 and tell me it's the best thing since sliced bread. By all means, go for it. You could try it. I think it's more viable to do. I just think I'm not doing it. Which is fine, because I only want to buy 1 combat patrol anyway. I don't want to have to buy 18 new Sanguinary Guard. So 6 will be fine for me, I think. Why can't I find Death Company Intercessors in the Furioso Dreadnought in the app? So Death Company Intercessors do not exist anymore. I believe they're now called Death Company Marines with bolt rifles. And the Furioso Dreadnought is now a Legends unit, so it doesn't exist. It's gone. The Sanguinary Priest is remained at 90 points. I feel like I'm not running him. I think he's overcosted. He can't attach to the units I want him to attach to. I think there's two choices for him to attach to: Stern Guard or Assault Intercessors. I feel like if I'm going to attach units to Assault Intercessors, I'll attach the Captain. If I attach the Captain and give him Rage Fueled Warrior, he'll do an absolute boatload of damage. And I'm not running Assault Intercessors in 10, which I think would be how you attach the Sanguinary Priest. So I think at 90 points, too much. Again, some of you guys might like him at 90 points. You attach a Captain to the Assault Intercessors and a 10, and the Sanguinary Priest. But I just don't think it's that great for how many points you'll spend on it. I think it was okay when it was like a jump Sanguinary Priest. But on foot, I'm not excited about that at all. I'm just not going to run him. I actually pleased that he's so points and he can't attach to anything because I just didn't buy him. So it saved myself $25 because I got two with jump packs. Maybe in the future we'll get the one with jump pack again and we'll want to buy that one. For some reason, like I think if the Sanguinary Priest could attach to Blade Guard, I think someone said that in the chat. Who said that in chat? I'm sure I just saw it. Whoever said it in chat, I think you're right. If he'd attached to Blade Guard, would I have spent 90 points to put him in Blade Guard? Hell yeah, I think he would have been great. Crozier said that. Because Blade Guard are a durable unit, and he would give you a bit more durability, and I think that would have tied in really, really nicely. But I guess we don't have that. The Sanguinary stayed at 140 points. He's been 140 points for ages now. Like a year. They don't move him up or down. Games Workshop see him as very, very strong. And he is strong. He's just not for me. I've played him a few times. He's not my favourite. If I'm going to go fight first, I rather go like big on the fight first. And I am running fight first at the moment. I'm just doing it with a big unit of Blade Guard or a big unit of Terminators. I don't really rate a single fight first character. I mean, it's good in some places. Yeah, the Sanguinary's bigger base opens up some more shenanigans and makes him more effective. Yeah, and I guess if you're playing Angelic Host, you could use Angel's Sacrifice with the Sanguinary. So, I think the Sanguinary will get play. I think people will use him. I think people will use him in tournaments. I think people will use him in Angelic Host. But he's just not for me. And that's fine. Not everything in the Codex needs to be for you. And here's the one thing that the one big takeaway you should probably take away from my stream is I do not run the absolute meta, right? Like the absolute meta for Blood Angels over the last 3 or 4 years has been like all jump units all the time, always charging. And that's what like the top players or 80 or 90% of the top players play, right? All the time, all the jump units. But like you can win tournaments without doing that. You don't have to build Blood Angels a single way. There's more than one way to play these guys. And I give you my opinion on those lists from time to time when they crop up. Because probably in the next few weeks, right? Someone will win a tournament with all jump units all the time. You know, like 18 Sanguinary Guard, 30 Death Company, whatever. Someone's going to win a tournament with that. So I'll cover it and tell you why it's strong and why you can do it. But for me, that's not for me. I like to play my lists a little bit more balanced. And I think that's fine. I think you can find your own. And no one's wrong. Like, sometimes people ask me, Jordan, can I field 3 Dreadnoughts in my Blood Angels? Yes, 100%. I did that last edition. I quite liked my army with 3 Blood Angels Dreadnoughts. I actually beat one of the best players in the whole of the UK with a Blood Angels list that had 2 Dreadnoughts in it, and Blade Guard, and maybe even, like, Outriders. Yeah, I think I did, actually. Because the guy didn't know how to play against it, right? Because no one else is playing that for Blood Angels. So, it works. You can play Blood Angels multiple ways. Let's talk about the enhancements. So Gift of Foresight is an interesting enhancement. It gives you the ability to flip a dice to a 6. I think you can do it for a save, a damage. Let me just double check. Gift of Foresight. You flip a dice for a hit, a wound, or a saving throw. A lot of people have been putting this on the Judicaar because it gives the Judicaar's dev wounds, guaranteed devastating wounds. You flip the dice to the 6 after you do the roll. So I guess like for the Judicaar's damage roll, you roll a bunch of dice, you already got 2 dev wounds, you flip another one to 6, suddenly you've done 6 dev wounds. It's very cool. 15 points I think is totally fine. Icon of the Angel was the one that basically stops enemy infantry almost from falling back against you. I honestly think this is a crock of shit, this enhancement. I don't know why it would ever be strong, because it excludes monsters and vehicles, and monsters and vehicles are probably what you want to not fall back against you. It's 20 points. What was it? It's gone up? It's gone up 10 points. I don't know. I've never taken this in my life. I wouldn't have taken it at 10 points. As sure as hell I'm not taking it at 20 points. I was going to say, we're like an hour into the stream now, right? So I can start swearing and YouTube won't demonetize me. I think I've been low on the swear words so far. Rage-Fueled Warrior is a great enhancement. It's a bit swingy. You realistically want to use it on a captain that you've Oath of Moment, so you can re-roll and you want to fish for 6s. I really thought this one might actually go up. I wasn't sure this would stay at 10 points, because I think if you combo this with Oath of Moment, it could potentially burst realistically massive. So I think this is a great enhancement. Basically, any character, any non-named character, if you've got 10 points free, this is that grade you should take. Because most of our characters get something between, like, I would say even the worst characters get like 5 or 6 attacks. So I mean, you could even throw this on a Tech Marine if you can Oath the Moment the Tech Marine's target, because it'll just burst a bunch of extra hits. It's great. And Speed of the Primarch actually went down 5 points. I really thought they might actually leave this one. I thought it was kind of a bit pricey at 30. I think it's super strong. I'm glad it's gone down 5 because I'm using it in my list. And I think it is so strong. Blood Buffalo, remember, sustain does not stack. So if you give Rage-Fueled Warrior to a captain and he already has sustained 1, those don't stack, dude. You can't add sustain together, if that makes sense. So sustained, if you got sustained 3 on an enhancement, you got sustained 1 on the weapon. When you activate the enhancement, you only get sustained 3. They don't stack together. So Rage-Fueled Warrior, great enhancement. Lets you use Fight First once per game. Once per game is really all you need it for, right? Because most of the time it just lets you put a unit somewhere that's just unchargeable. So there's loads of good characters you could put this on. A captain leading the Sanguinary Guard, a chaplain leading the Death Company, a chaplain leading Blade Guard, a chaplain or a librarian leading Terminators. There's just loads of units that this could benefit from. I think it's possibly the best enhancement that we have there. Rage Fueled is really good. Gift of Foresight is really good, but I think Speed of the Primarch is the best one. Okay, next up, the Angelic Host enhancements. And this is going to be interesting because I actually didn't think their enhancements were very good, and 3 of them have gone up in points. So, Artisan of War. Oh my goodness. Artisan of War was 15 points. It improves your AP by 1 and your save becomes 2 up. 15 points. And now it's going up to 20. I mean, Artisan of War looks like dog. Yeah, we're just going to start swearing, guys. If you like the video, I was going to say just like it. We're gonna from here on out we're swearing because that's dog shit. Basically, most of the time, your character has a 3-up save. So, the second you're hit by 1 AP, you're on your 4-up invuln. So, the second you're hit by 2... So, basically, a tiny bonus against 1 or 0 AP weaponry, and 1 more AP, which again is only going to be a tiny bonus most of the time because you're going to hit people's invuln saves. So, I think Artisan of War is garbage for 20 points. Gleaming Pinions is the strong one in this detachment. This is the one that lets you make a move When an enemy... Once per turn, when an enemy unit ends a normal, advanced, or fallback with a 9, you can move with 6 inches, assuming you're not in engagement range. That's 25 points. I mean, it was very strong. They had it at 10. I understand it going up. 25 is a lot, but all this extra movement is very good. Andonius likes it more with the explicitives. Perfect, dude. Let's get those explicitives out. What's next? Visage of Death. Jump pack model only. In the battle shock step of your opponent's command phase, each enemy, excluding monsters and vehicles with an engagement range of the bearer, must take a battle shock. So it's kind of like Dante's Aura, but without the -1. Dante's Aura barely ever works, so you're going to pay 15 points for an aura that barely ever works. Great. I think it's garbage. I think it was garbage at 10 points. I think it's garbage at 15 points. I mean, I've had my opponent roll against Dante's Aura like 20 or 30 times, and I think I can count on one hand the number of times it's actually been failed. And Dante's Aura is -1. So I think Vigil of Death is hot garbage. And Archangel Shard, I can tell you already that I already think Archangel Shard is garbage as well. Bearer's melee weapons have anti-chaos 5-up and lance. So basically for the most part your weapon gets lance. That's 15 points. They did have it at 20. The only enhancement I would take is Gleaming Pinions. The other 3 are garbage at the points. Just avoid them. That's it. So yeah, I guess that is the first look at all the Blood Angels points. We'll get onto the Space Marine points now, but give me a minute to drink my coffee. And if you've got some questions in chat, let's do some questions in chat for a minute. And if we got like a shitload of members in here tonight. So members, use some of your you get a free super chat every month as a member. So give me some super chats. Free, you don't have to pay anything, just press the fucking $sign button and give me some free super chats with your thoughts or your questions. Let's do it. Are you allowed to use all the enhancements in a detachment? I mean, you are, but probably would avoid trying to use all of them. I think the most I've ever used is like... Have I ever used more than one? I don't think I've ever used more than one. I think if you're getting to the point where you're using 2 or 3, you can probably tweak something and get another unit in there. That's what I would be doing. A unit is typically always going to be better than a couple of enhancements. Raoul! Hello, John. Would you run a Speed of the Primarch on a regular chaplain with a 5-man Assault Intercessor Squad or a 5-man Death Company Marines? I feel like I would rather run it on a bigger, nastier unit, right? Like, Assault Intercessors, probably not. On 5 Death Company Marines, maybe if you've got 2 Power Fists and Eviscerator. That's kind of probably the minimum I would recommend. The 2 unit that, well, I suppose there's 3 units that stand out that would be, maybe even 4, right? There's probably 4 units that are stand out amazing for Speed of the Primarch. They are Death Company Marines with jump packs, 10-man squad, Sanguinary Guard, 6-man squad, Blade Guard, 6-man squad, Terminators, 5-man or 10-man squad, right? They're the units that are going to get absolute maximum value from a regular chaplain with Fight First. You can't take more than 3 enhancements. Oh, cool. You're capped at 3. Well, I didn't even know that. Where the hell did they even say that? I've never even tried to run more than 1. Should I run 10-man jump intercessors with a captain? We're going to get to jump intercessors next, so I'll give you my opinion when we get to them. Between the trash, Blood Angels refresh and this, I have a very bad taste in my mouth, says Jim. I guess Blood Angels have changed a little bit, right? Here we go, Ryan, coming in with the 5 supers. Thanks so much, Ryan. Always supporting the channel, do appreciate it. Guys, if you did get gifted membership, it gives you access to our members-only Discord. So please... please come, find yourself into the Discord. Krychek says heavy intercessors is 95 points. We're gonna get to the Space Marine stuff in a minute. Thoughts on 3 assault devastators in our pulsar? 3 assault devastators? Do you mean assault centurions? Locus Sun. I actually like Assault Centurions for Blood Angels. I don't think their points cost change, but we'll get to them in a sec.
I have awoken.
Sanguinary Barbecue says, Mephiston is a baller and liberator assault group with some intercessors, homies. Put them in an Impulsor or Land Raider and roll. Yeah, I mean, I think it's nice Mephiston fits inside an Impulsor with those other characters. I think that's really good now. Jack says, I'm new to building and I'm getting the combat patrol to build my army. I understand with the Sanguinary Guard, it's all swords. I guess I should use an Infernal Pistols when I can. But with the 10 guys, should I make the Death Company and what weapons should I upgrade them? I did a video on that, Jack. Like, if you're newish to the channel, right? Let me just show you this. You go over to like the YouTube channel, which is just YouTube. I think you can do @ so YouTube @ BA Commander like that, right? So, and then click on playlists, and bear in mind, like, you won't see all these other bullshit playlists. These are my personal playlists. If you click playlists on my channel, you will just see the playlists I've got set as public, and one of those playlists is called Tactics 10th Edition. So you click View Full Playlist. Then there's every video I've made about 10th Edition, and all the tactics stuff in there. And this video, starting Blood Angels in 2022 using the Death Company box, that'll tell you exactly how to build your 10 Death Company. But I mean, if you haven't, I was going to say, if you start back like a month ago, yeah, like Blood Angels army build, like basically from about here, like the last 10 videos. If you haven't watched the last 10 videos and you want to learn more about Blood Angels, it's probably the best place to start. Try and cover, you know, I try and have a video every week that's going to help people get better. So a pure Death Company army with a side of Dante plus 6 Sanguinary Guard would be suboptimal. Death Company are fine if they've got enough chaplains. But that's the weird thing about these Death Company captains, or Death Company dreadnoughts, is like they all still need chaplains. So that's why I think, basically, like, for every Death Company unit in your army, you kind of have to pay that chaplain tax, right? So, like, I really think that you need, like, 66%. So if you, 66% chaplains or something. So if you've got 3 units of Death Company, you need 2 chaplains. If you've got 4 units of Death Company, you probably need 3 chaplains. And at some point, the chaplain tax becomes too much. And you kind of have to give up other things. So, like, a couple of units of Death Company and a couple of chaplains are probably the best way of using Death Company. Okay, let's talk about Space Marines. Because a few points did change in Codex Space Marines, right? Let me find it. Codex. I'll just search Space Marines. Not Chaos Space Marines, we don't like those guys. Codex Space Marines. Okay. Yeah, let's talk Codex Space Marines then. If there's any other questions, you obviously know you can leave them in the chat. The Apothecary Biologist went up in points. Do you know what I was thinking, actually? Because I looked at... What's interesting is that Apothecary Biologist, he can attach to, like, aggressors and eradicators. I guess because he's in Phobos armor? But it's a bit weird that he's an apothecary that can attach to all these aggressor units, but our Sanguinary priest can't attach to any of them. Fine. What did the apothecary even cost? He was 55 points. That's a pretty heavy nerf on the biologist. Wow, okay. I guess the reason probably being is some people were using the apothecary biologist with eradicators. This is a pretty heavy nerf. I mean, he's like on his own, he's pretty rubbish, but I guess he's lethal hits. Okay, that's pretty nasty nerf. I guess if you're using the apothecary plus, I mean, that probably is possibly the death of that aggressor combo, because aggressors got put up like 3 times, and the enhancement got put up, and he's now got put up. So I feel like fielding aggressors is almost impossible probably now, and fielding eradicators just got like a lot worse. Not that Blood Angels field a ton of eradicators, but I guess that's the reality of what has happened here. Apparently I have a random little printout for Inquisitorial Henchmen hidden in my Space Marine Codex. Okay, I was definitely playing Henchman at one point. Let's talk about Assault Intercessor with the jump packs, and this is the interesting thing. So basically, if you are going to play Assault Intercessors with jump packs as 5s, and 5's probably the best way of playing these guys, you're going to get penalised for the extra Power Fist and the extra Plasma Pistol you get. Because a 10-man unit only gets 1 Power Fist, and a 10-man unit gets 3 Plasmas, whereas like a 5-man unit gets 2 Plasmas. So you get an extra Plasma Pistol, you get an extra Power Fist essentially, but you got to pay more points. Now here's the really interesting thing, and this is what I said would happen. Like I predicted this change as well. I said that what was probably going to happen is Sanguinary Guard are going to go down like 5 or 10 points, and Assault Intercessors and the jump packs are going to go up or 5 or 10 points. So nothing will actually change. So, like, if you were already playing Liberator Assault Group, and you already had 1 squad of Sanguinary Guard and 3 squads of 5-man Jump Assault Intercessors, then the Jump Assault Intercessors went up 30 points, the Sanguinary Guard went down 30 points. So actually, there's no difference, right? And I guess that's, like, when I was starting to look at this, I was like, oh, I play 2 units of Jump Assault Intercessors, and I play 1 unit of Death Company, so my 2 Jump Assault Intercessors went up 10, my Death Company went up 10, but the Sanguinary Guard went down 30, so literally there's no difference. That's happened for a few balance data slates now. It feels like maybe points is not the right... You know, like they always... GW's like default thing is like, oh, we like to balance first on points. But points, like that actually changes nothing, right? Like I still have the exact same models on the table. I still have the exact same weapons on the table. Nothing has changed. So Assault Intercessors with jump packs have gone up 10 points. What's interesting, I guess, now is, right, does that make other units better? You know, like Outriders I felt were a comparable unit. They were 80 points. They are still 80 points. Are Outriders now better because Assault Intercessors went up 10? Potentially. Is that a way to fix the fact that, like, you know, you all of a sudden your list is 10 points over and you can't make anything work anymore? Well, you could just say, like, well, I have a unit of Outriders. They're kind of the same as the Assault Intercessors. They do a little bit more damage, a little bit more tanky. It only really hurts those running multiple 3-man MSUs. I think enough people were probably running 3-man MSUs, Curtis. I think Assault Intercessor with jump packs are a very strong unit. Do I reckon that putting them up 10 points is valid? I guess. I kind of like it that they kept the 10 at 160, because this is a new thing that they haven't done before, right? Like, unless I'm confused, I feel like they haven't really done, ever since they removed fixed points costs, or sorry, ever since they changed to fixed point costs, they haven't really done that thing where, like, 5-man units cost more or less than 10-man units or something like that. So I'm kind of glad they've done this. I guess it's a targeted nerf to people that are running too many 5-man Death Companies, 5-man Jump Intercessors. But I think it's totally fine, right? Like, I think that because other units have gone down some points, I don't think it changes too much. I think this is fine. I think I see 5 Assault Intercessors with jump packs as similar to Outriders. I think I'd still play them. Ballistus Dreadnought went down 10 points, so it's the same points as a Predator Destructor now. I still think the Predator Destructor is a better unit. Yeah, I still think the Predator Destructor is better than this. Even though this is a better save and I think it's got the same toughness actually. Yeah, I mean, I still think the Predator Destructor is better, but I guess it's nice that the Ballistus came down another 10 points. We talked about Ballistuses being like one of the cheapest fire support units you can get. You could field 2 of them for 260 points. Gives you 4 las cannons, gives you 4 strength 10 missiles. It's not the worst thing in the world. You get some baked in rerolls. Fine. I mean, like, if you were fielding Ballistuses before, you'd be happy. You can still field them now. If you wanted to do that combo where you add a Ballistus and a Gladiator together as your fire support, it's even cheaper. Fine. I think they were okay at 140. I think they're still okay at 130. Is the Death Company Dreadnought playable now, says Casper? I think the Brutalis is still probably better. What's the best unit for home field objectives? Infiltrators. Hands down, 5 infiltrators. They're by far the best unit for home field objectives. Captain and Phobos armor went down 5 points. I don't think many people for Blood Angels were running a Captain and Phobos armor. He's a captain that has like a one-shot sniper rifle that does strength 4, 3 damage or something. He has some deployment shenanigans. Oh no, they nerfed it. Strength 4, 2 damage. I mean, I guess if you're running a Phobos Captain, you'd be happy, but I don't think it's a meaningful change for Blood Angels. Eradicators got... Oh, so they nerfed the Apothecary and the Eradicators. Damn. Okay, so Eradicators went up 5 points per model, or 5 points per 3. I guess it probably just comes down to people running the Apothecary, plus the lethal hits, plus the Eradicators, plus the Fire Discipline. So in a weird byproduct or a part of the meta, the Eradicators are now 10 points more expensive. Again, I don't think it changes much for Blood Angels. I can't honestly remember the last time I saw a Blood Angels list that had Eradicators in it. I think we go for different tanks. We usually go Lancers if we're looking for anti-tank. We don't really take Eradicators. We don't really want our anti-tank to be up and close. We do that with our jump units, right? Heavy Intercessors went down 5 points per model. I think that's an interesting change. I thought Heavy Intercessors were good at 100 points. I think at 95 points, they could actually be really interesting. They are durable. Toughness 6, 15 wounds. Ignoring 1 AP when standing on an objective against 1 damage weaponry. So they're basically a 2-up save if they're standing on an objective against 1 damage weaponry. And they could get cover on top of that. Toughness 6. Yeah. I don't run Heavy Intercessors at the moment. I've run them before at 100 points. I thought they were good. Yeah, I think they're good. I don't know if it's a meaningful change for Blood Angels, but I guess it's a nice change, Heavy Intercessors. What's up as well? Invader ATVs have gone from 70 points to 60 points. Do you know what? That's kind of interesting. So an Invader ATV costs the same as an attack bike used to cost now. But obviously an Invader ATV has a ton more hit points than an attack bike, right? Because an attack bike had 4 wounds. The Invader ATV has 8 wounds. I actually don't know what the Invader ATV's special rule is. Oh, it's some nonsense about being attached to Outriders. Okay, special rules garbage. It's basically an 8 wound multi-melta then. So it's a single multi-melta with 8 wounds and toughness 5. For 60 points. I mean, attack bikes used to be good when multi-meltas could actually kill vehicles and shit like that, right? Whereas now I feel like multi-meltas don't really kill vehicles. At 60 points, I guess it might be okay to have one and have it in reserve, and you're bringing it in to like try and one-shot something. But the interesting thing about Invader ATVs is they're single models, right? Like you can't run them in a unit. I don't think it's a good idea to attach them to Outriders. So at 60 points, would I include an Invader ATV? It's an interesting idea for an action monkey thing, though. I suppose it does have a 12-inch move. So you bring it in to do an action. It's one model on a smaller base. I mean, maybe there's a play for it. Maybe. I mean, it's 70 points, definitely not. It's 60, maybe there's something to be said there. I can't really see anyone running Invader ATVs. The Onslaught Cannon is absolute garbage. Don't ever build it with the Onslaught Cannon. The Multi-Melta. Oh, there's that a typo in the Multi-Melta. It's got Strength 9 in the Codex. Has it got Strength 9 in the app, or did they update that? Because no, Multi-Meltas are Strength 9, aren't they? Oh, I think it was one of the multi-melters at strength 10. That was the typo. Yeah, okay. Strength 9, so maybe it could pop open, like if you're really lucky, you could pop open a transport. But I feel like the chances are pretty slim. Hello, Speargrass. We're literally the next unit on the list to look at is the Invictor Tactical Warsuit. If I had 3, I'd try them. 24 wounds and 3 devastating wound Gatling cannons. Yeah, but AP0 weaponry, I think, is garbage, man. Most of the AP0 weaponry does, even the AP0 weaponry with devastating wounds, not many people take it anymore. The devastating wounds part is just not reliable enough. If you got 8 attacks, which the Invader ETV does, so let's say you hit 6 times, which is actually above average. You only hit like 5 and a bit times. You're only going to roll 1/6 if you got 6 wound rolls to roll. Statistically, you roll 1/6. So you do 1 dev wound, and then sure they have to save 2 or 3 times, but 0 AP. So I think devastating wound weapons like that are a trap. Maybe if they're twin linked, but if they're not twin linked, then I think devastating wound weapons, especially when you're only doing like 6 wound rolls, it's honestly kind of garbage. Is the ATV the go-kart thing? It is indeed the Mario Kart, yes. Okay. Next up, the Invictor Tactical Warsuit, 125 points. The Tactical Warsuit before was 155 points. Holy jeez. So they've taken it down 30 points, which is about 20%. I mean, it makes sense. Nobody was using the Tactical Warsuit. Let me see if I can even find its data sheet. It's been a while since. I think the problem with this data sheet is it doesn't really know what it wants to do. So it's toughness 8, 12 wounds, 3 up save. So same wounds as like a Redemptor in that, but 2 less toughness and 1 less on the save. So 125 points. It does have a very good fist, and it's got 6 attacks on the charge, strength 14, minus 2/3 damage. I don't think we've got very many strength 14 weaponry, so it has a very, very powerful fist. For some reason, its fist has more strength than the Brutalis Dreadnought and the Redemptor Dreadnought. Well, I honestly think that's maybe a typo and they've just forgotten about it. I don't know why it is strength 14. Strength 16 on the charge, yeah, I really don't know why it's so I really don't know why it's got a really crap special rule though. Once per turn in your shooting phase, when a friendly Phobos infantry is shot within 6 inches. So I feel like its special rule basically never triggers. It does have an 8-inch scout move. It used to infiltrate, now it does an 8-inch scout move. It moves 8. So arguably, I suppose you could make your 8-inch scout move, you could move forward 8, so you could be 16 inches forward, you could advance for another d6, you could charge. So it could make a turn 1 charge. It's got 4 OC. It's got a frag storm grenade launcher, it's got a heavy bolter, it's got an incendium cannon, which is d6 plus 3, strength 6 minus 1, 1. Ignores cover torrent. It's got a couple of stubbers. I mean, its shooting's kind of dog shit, right? Like, so what's it like? A couple of stubbers, alright, you've done 1 wound. A couple of one frag storm grenade launcher. Okay, if you're lucky, you've done 2 wounds at this point. Heavy bolters very rarely do anything. So maybe at this point you've done 3 wounds, and then you've got like 6 auto-hitting flamers at AP1. So it does like 5 or 6 wounds if you get a bit of luck. Evening, Mike, how you doing? And then you charge in with the fist. And it's got a bit of durability. I guess at 125 points it could be worth a shout. Would I run them myself? Maybe we rapid ingress them and try and make some moves and charges. Drizzle says 5 attacks on the warsuit is barely enough to scratch the paint to anything it gets into. I think that's my problem with it, Drizzle, because I ran a couple of warsuits last edition and I used the infiltrate, and then I made a turn 1 charge. I believe I charged just like a unit of intercessors or something with my warsuit. So you've got 6 attacks. Well, statistically, you're only going to hit 4. Then you got a wound. Sure, you wound on 2s, but let's say you drop 1 again. Then it's only AP 2. So let's say 1 or 2 of those intercessors pass their saves. So realistically, you made that turn 1 charge, which was difficult to do, but all you did was like kill an intercessor or 2, and then the rest of the intercessor squad just falls back, and then they gun down your tactical warsuit for 125 points. So I think, like before, when that was 155 points, you're like, yeah, that's crazy. I wouldn't run that at all at 155. But I think it still has the same problems at 125, right? Like, how do you play this thing effectively? Like, it wants to be close because the only good weapon it's got is a flamer. I mean, I guess you can switch out the flamer for autocannon. But then, if you're going to pay 125 points for an autocannon to sit, like, 40 inches away, you'd be much better paying 5 more points and taking a Predator and have an autocannon that has twice as many shots, and have some las cannons, and have a hunter killer missile. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I feel like a lot of Primaris models are trying to do too many things, and what it ends up is they do nothing. Like like Thunder. What are those Land Raiders called? The Thunder Strikes, the Storm Speeders. Like, nobody runs Storm Speeders. Nobody runs 2 of the variants of Gladiators. Nobody runs Desolation Marines. Nobody runs Tactical Warsuits. Nobody runs Invader ATVs. No one runs Infernus Marine. Like, there's so many units that just nobody runs. And a bunch of those units have been left again. Like, 5 Desolation Marines for 200 points. Like, I don't know. Tactical Warsuits for me, even with their points drops, I'm not taking them.
I have awoken.
The Ball Predator is 135 points. This is 125. How does that compare? I feel like I'd always take the Ball Predator. I think if you're trying to Overwatch stuff, which is probably what this can do, it's much better. And I feel like this doesn't survive into close combat anyway. So its fist is kind of irrelevant. Okay, Outriders. The Invader ATV attached to Outriders has been reduced from 70 points to 60 points. I think this is a meaningless change because I do not think that you should attach an Invader ATV to Outriders, because I think Outriders want to get into melee. The Invader ATV cannot shoot its weapons when you're in melee, so I think this is pointless. Again, it makes literally no difference. Invader ATVs are no more attractive than they were before. Yeah, Reavers. Reavers got dropped in points, and apparently Mike now rates them. Well, I tell you right now, even with a points drop, I'm not going to rate them, because I think, I guess I've said it a few times in the stream, AP0 weaponry is dog shit, and I don't think I ever rate any weapon that has AP0. There's too many times that you could have 100 shots with AP0 and you still don't kill something, right? AP0 in general is just generally pretty rubbish. Reaver's knives are AP0. Maybe their bolt guns have 1 AP, but they only get like 1 shot with them. I can't even find the Reaver datasheet. Reavers have gone down from 95. I mean, thank goodness, because they were absolute dog shit in 95. So at 75, they're the same points as a unit of assault intercessors. So if you think about the assault intercessors, on foot that would be, the assault intercessors would get what? 4 power fist attacks and 20 chain swords? 8, so these guys get 25 AP0. So what would I have? 4 power fist attacks and 20 AP1 or 25 AP0? I'm sorry, I'd take the AP1 and the Power Fist every single day of the week. Yes, they've got a precision pistol, one shot, AP1, 1 damage, whatever. At the start of the fight phase, each enemy with an engagement range of one or more of these models must take a battle shock test. Again, kind of whatever. And while the enemy is within 6 inches of this unit, each time it takes a battle shock or leadership test, subtract 1 from the test. So basically, like, they basically have Dante's aura. Now, like I said earlier in the stream, I've been playing Dante now since the data slate in the summer. I think, do you know what? I can probably tell you.
I have awoken.
Crispy Delicious! Hello, you love the Blood Angels Commander community. That's very kind of you, dude. Thank you so much. Let me go back and just see when that data slate released. It'll be in my tactics playlist. I'm curious to when the summer. Oh yeah, hello, Inception. When did the data slate release? Was it June? Okay, so I've been playing Dante pretty much since June. Greeting. No, I think I double clicked. Oh, for fuck's sake. Just show me the date. 22nd of June. Right, so I've been playing Dante for 4 months. I feel like that -1 battle shock thing has been meaningful 4 times, honestly. So I've used it in, I don't know, 4 months worth of games. So it happens once per month. And in every single one of my games, Dante's always fighting every game, multiple times. Took him to a tour. I think I took Dante to a tournament with that -1 battle shock aura, and I don't think it triggered once the entire tournament. Battle shock is just not meaningful enough. I feel like if everybody's leadership was like 2 points lower, it might be meaningful. But like battle shock just isn't meaningful enough this edition. I played against Chaos Knights at a tournament, and the whole thing about Chaos Knights is like, excuse me, they're going to battle shock you all the time, and they're going to battle shock you with -1 all the time, and you can't do actions and stuff if they're battle shocking you. But even the Chaos Knights game, where like he's making, I think in the Chaos Knights game, every single one of my units had to do a battle shock every turn. It was still like, oh, that unit that he really needs to fail battle shock didn't fail battle shock. So yeah, I don't know. I guess someone might have some value in Reavers. Mike thinks he likes them now. I still think they're absolute garbage. It's 75 points. It's because you can't rely on them, Mike, right? You can rely on the Assault Intercessors to kill shit. So you know what that unit's going to do, right? The Assault Intercessors come in with a captain, they kill shit, you can rely on that. The Reavers come in, they don't kill anything, and then maybe you fail a battle shock. Derp. We won't touch on Gilliman beyond the fact that he's gone down in points. Marius will be happy. What was Gilliman? Gilliman's gone down a lot of points. 345 down to 285. I actually... Well, Ultramarines got a buff, didn't they? Holy crap. I mean, if you weren't taking Gilliman before, now's the time to take him. 285 points for 10 wound, toughness 9, 2 up, 4 up Gilliman. He's lone operative as well if he's within 3 inches of one or more friendly Adeptus Starters unit. Or Ultramarines unit, yeah? Oh, and he still comes back to life on a 3 up. Cool. Get Gilliman in your list. He's good. You're going to take Reavers to score because they're cheaper than Assault Intercessors with jump packs now. I guess. And they can deep strike. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think if I was going to take a 75 point unit to score, I would take Suppressors. Let's get to that. Alright, the Storm Speeders that I've already said nobody plays. The Hail Strike's gone down to 115 from 130. The Hammer Strike's gone down to 125 from 150. And the Thunder Strike has gone back to its original points in the Codex for 150. It came out at 150. It went up for a few It's always funny when they put shit up for like 3 edition or 3 balanced data slates and they just put it back to what it was in the Codex. Like, it makes no sense, but it's back to what it was in the Codex. 150 points for the Thunderstrike. The Thunderstrike is the best one. It was playable in the Codex at 150. I think they had it up as high as like 170. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something to buff your shooting, the Thunderstrike will do that, and it'll do it for 150 points now. I don't know if that's going to change too much for Blood Angels, but I guess it's nice that at least, I think it's the only one you can field. I think the other two are garbage. The Hail Strike has like an onslaught cannon and a stubber. So I for 115 points, an onslaught cannon and a twin stubber. Yeah, great. Definitely not be using that. And the Hammer Strike has a 2 strength 9 missiles and 3 strength 9 melta shots. I mean, I feel like it's not as bad, but it's not great. Maybe it could be used to kill some infantry. I mean, I guess it got 6 strength 9 shots. So I guess if you could use the Hammer Strike to kill, like, elites, that might be the way to go. Okay, suppressors. I think these guys have dropped from 85. I think they might have been 90 in this codex originally. They were 95 and now they're at 75. I think suppressors might actually be playable at 75. You know, like if you were running 3 units of jump intercessors and you've lost a bunch of points, could you run 2 units of jump intercessors and a unit of suppressors to save yourself like 15 points potentially? Suppressors will do yeah. I was going to say, if I'm needing something to do actions, suppressors can do actions. Suppressors can shoot with AP1. They have strength 8. They have 2 damage weapons. They give an enemy -1 to hit. The only difficult thing with suppressors is that they don't sell them, right? So you have to buy that stupid box that has lots of other models to get them. So you can't get your hands on suppressors. I think, do you know what, 75 points, I think I would run a unit of suppressors. I think I would run them in Liberator Assault Group, dude. I think they would be an action monkey that I would just keep far away from my opponent and shoot with. And like, last week I played against an Orc Stomper that has there's 800 points of death and destruction, but only has Ballistic Skill 5. That would have been a perfect target for a cheap unit of suppressors to shoot and just change its BS to 6 up. So I think at 75 points, suppressors might actually be... They're not a horrible option anymore. I think at 85, we're probably always taking jump assault intercessors over them. But I think at 75, if you've got the points, they're only 10 points more expensive than scouts now. They're probably going to give you more. If the opponent has like a really nasty unit, you only need to hit them with 1 guy to make them -1 to hit, right? After this unit is shot, select 1 enemy hit by 1 of those or more attacks. Each guy gets 3 attacks. So assuming that 1 guy can live for a few turns, 48 inches away, they can make any enemy -1 to hit. I don't think that's meaningless. Yeah, I think suppressors might actually get some play at 75. I guess time will tell. They are edging towards... These guys might actually have a use now. They're still 25 points per model. But then they have jump packs, and like we talked about, Games Workshop really like to make those jump pack models expensive, right? Like, that's just a thing they do. The autocannons aren't great. You know, strength 8 -1. But they're not the worst either. Terminator Assault Squad next is an interesting one, and they've dropped its points cost for like the 3rd time now. Terminator assault squads in the Codex were 195. They're down to 180. And Terminators, which in the Codex were 200, are down to 170. It's a weird one because I still think that the 5-man regular Terminator squad is still better than... They didn't change Eliminators? No, I don't think so. The 5-man Terminator squad is still better than the Assault Terminators. So, I think if you're going to take Terminators, be happy that they dropped the regular squad again. And use the regular squad. I think they're going to be possibly... I mean, if we're talking Blood Angels, right? These Terminators, for 170 points, still get your 20 power fists. Right? And you can make them hit on 2s. And you can attach a chaplain or a librarian for like +1 to wound or sustain 6s. So if you're looking for a squad that is a 5-man that can do as much damage as the Death Company of old, then I think that is the Terminator squad. I don't think they need the Chain Fist. I think you just give them the Power Fist. They're strength 10. You can use your Lance lethal hit strat on them, or you can use or you can give them a chaplain for +1 to wound. Are Terminators even worth taking? I have the starter set Terminators. Yes. I think the 5-man starter set Terminators with bolters, with power fists, are totally fine to take. I think it's strong if you attach a chaplain or librarian to them. I think that's what you should be doing. Attach the Terminator chaplain or attach the Terminator librarian. Both are good choices. The chaplain will be like more reliable and cost you less CP. The librarian can do more damage, but has a higher CP cost. You could even give them the fight first enhancement so that the opponent can't really charge the Terminators. I just don't think that the Assault Terminators... The Assault Terminators' costs are not the reason you don't take the unit. The fact they don't actually assault anything is the reason that you don't take the unit, right? Like, their Lightning Claws are kind of shit. Their Thunder Hammers are very shit. These Terminators are just better, and they're still cheaper. And I've said that now twice. And until the Assault Terminators are cheaper than the regular Terminator squad, I will never advise taking the Assault Terminators, because they can't kill anything. Right? They literally can't kill anything. They've got this tax on them because they've got potential dev wounds as far as I'm concerned. But when this squad makes a charge, you're only hitting like 10 times. So statistically, they're only doing 3 dev wounds. So I don't think doing 3 dev wounds is worth giving up like a bunch of extra hits. And then these guys have a better buff anyway, so that's that. Vanguard Veterans got nerfed again. I'm not really sure why Vanguard Veterans got nerfed again. They're now up to 110 points. They were at 105. They're now 110. I felt like you could run a 5-man unit before at 105. You could probably still run a 5-man unit before at 110. But, yeah, I mean, fine. I don't know. I think that the days of Vanguard Veterans and Blood Angels right now are just pretty numbered. Like, I don't think we'll see many people running... The removal of the Sanguinary Priest, I think, has hurt these guys a lot. The heirloom weapons are kind of underwhelming. I suppose if you really like the Storm Shields, maybe there's something there. But, yeah, for me, Vanguard Veterans are kind of dead. We then have Fire Discipline and Gladius went up massively. I mean, the only thing about this is like why it took them so long to buff it to such a high points cost. So they pretty much Eradicators, Fire Discipline, Aggressors, Fire Discipline. Fire Discipline has just been a problem enhancement. They've now made it ridiculously expensive, and they've reduced Fainting Withdrawal. Stormlance, I honestly must say I've not played against many people playing Stormlance. Fainting Withdrawal. the frick was that? So it was 20 points before. While the bear is leading unit, that unit is eligible to shoot in a turn which it fell back. So fall back and shoot costs 10 points. I mean, I guess that might be useful on some unit. I mean, they lowered it from 25, great. And then Hunter's Instinct went from 10 points up to 25. If the bear's unit is in strategic reserve, for the purpose of setting that unit up in the battlefield, treat the battle round as being one higher than it actually is. So you can... So Hunter's Instinct let you bring a unit in from reserve one turn earlier for 25 points. Okay. But I mean, I can't remember seeing anyone run Stormlance. I don't think it's a particularly strong detachment. I guess it's had 2 changes. Vanguard veterans were only relevant because of the Sanguinary Priest. Yeah, that sounds about accurate, Terrence. Rick, sorry. Cool. Leviathan Terminators are fine, but the sword and assault cannon is so lacking a fist and a missile launcher. Yeah, if you are running Terminators, you really do want that. You do want power fists on everybody, and you do want a cyclone missile launcher. Because, like we've said, AP0 weaponry, like the assault cannon, it only gets 6 shots. Yes, it's got devastating wounds, but if you only have 6 shots, the absolute... I mean, you're not going to do... Stormlance is being played by Space Wolves. Okay. When I played against Space Wolves, they were running Gladius or the Wolf detachment. I don't think I've actually played against Stormlance Space Wolves. But, fine. I guess... Fall back and shoot got made cheaper. Hunter's Instinct got made more expensive. So that's the Space Marine changes. That's the Blood Angels changes. Overall, I don't know if this changes too much, right? Because it's like Sanguinary Guard came down in points a little bit. Death Company went up in points the tiniest bit. Assault Intercessors went up the tiniest bit. So arguably, if you had like multiple units of Assault Intercessors and a couple of units of Death Company and a unit of Sanguinary Guard, everything just completely evens out. Terminators are a little bit better than they were. 5 Terminators is actually less points than 6 Blade Guard now. I mean, that might be interesting. Blade Guard get 30 power swords, or Mastercrafted powered swords. Terminators get 20 power fists. Yeah, I've been live for like 2 hours, so probably all your questions have been answered at some point. The Death Company Dreadnought feels like it's not... For me... In my head, I think the Brutalis Dreadnought still seems like the better choice. Heavy Intercessors came down a few points, yeah. Lamartes went up a few points. The best enhancement, arguably, the Speed of the Primarch enhancement came down a few points. The absolute trash enhancement went up a few points. I don't honestly understand some of the decisions here. I mean, I've been playing Blood Angels now for like a decade or more. But I mean, I've been playing with Icon of the Angel was like an index, an index enhancement, and no one ran it in index because it's really not that good in my opinion. Let me just read it again so I'm not going insane. Did anyone from chat? I was going to say there's 300 Blood Angels players in chat. Why did Icon of the Angel get made 10 points more expensive? What am I missing on it? Each time an enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, with engagement range of the bear is selected to fall back, models in this enemy unit take desperate escape tests if the unit is battle shocked. When doing so, if that enemy unit is also battle shocked, subtract 1 from each of those desperate escape tests. So infantry models or beasts or swarms but no monsters or vehicles, right? So infantry, swarms, or beasts. Arguably all the things, or mounted, I guess. Arguably all things that you should be killing on the objective anyway. Curtis says nothing. Antonio says it game more expensive because of reasons. Assault Terminators have an extra wound. Do you think that's why they're expensive? Maybe, Gabriel, but I mean, the problem I see with 4 wounds over 3 wounds is most people that kill Marines with 2 damage weaponry. Right? I'd say like a lot of my Marines die to enemies that have 2 damage weapons. So having 3 wounds or 4 wounds a lot of the time, maybe not all the time, yeah, it wouldn't be all the time, but like 60 or 70% of the time, it's completely irrelevant. Occasionally it comes up. Yeah, when it comes up, it's meaningful. I guess when you're getting shot by an autocannon, it takes 2 autocannons to kill you. The problem I have with Assault Terminators, though, is the extra wound is not meaningful enough to give up all their offensive output, because their offensive output is kind of trash. Like someone said in the chat, Thunderhammers are not a great weapon, especially when they only hit on 4s. You only get 20 attacks, so when you hit on 4s with those Assault Terminators, you only make like 10 hits. It's pretty average. Like, I don't typically, like, I wouldn't take a Blood Angels unit if I'm only getting like 10 hits. Like 10 hits is not, for a 200 and some point unit or whatever it would be, I guess, when you attach your character, 10 hits is just not enough, right? I mean, I use Infernal Pistols a lot of the time. You get 10 Infernal Pistols and you kill like 1 model. GW thinks Reavers are overpowered. Yeah, okay. The -1 battle. The Reavers with Icon and the Angel. I just think Assault Intercessors are better in every situation. Would you replace a 5-man Assault Jump with a unit of 3 Blade Guard vets? I think they're completely different units, right? Like an Assault Jump unit is a fast-moving unit you can trade with. Blade Guard vets in a 3-man are more likely to try and sit on an objective. Maybe they try and tangle a little bit, but they're not fast. They're not like a trading unit, I feel like. Maybe that's a little bit unfair to the Blade Guard. Stephen was talking about a missing Blood Angels tank buster. I mean, I think one of the things you have to bust tanks now with is Sanguinary Guard, right? You need to use the lethal hits. You probably need to use Oath of Moment. And you probably want to have Dante. Because I think if you have Dante, so you hit on 2s, and you have lethals from the Red Rampage, you then want to use Oath. You want to throw all the dice. You want to reroll everything. So straight away you get like 10 or 12 lethals. Then you have a really good wound roll after that because you're like strength 8 with +1 to wound, right? So I think Sanguinary Guard can bust into tanks. And then that's one of the other reasons that Blood Angels might actually struggle now with the all melee build, right? Like, because one of the things that the all melee build had before was like a crap load of Infernal Pistols. We just don't have that anymore. What do Blade Guard do better than Terminators? They hit more often. Yeah, they hit more often. I think, right? You know, like 6 Blade Guard get 30 attacks, 5 Terminators get 20 attacks. So the Terminators have more durability, but you're giving up 10 attacks. I suppose your attacks have more strength, but I mean, when I've been playing the Blade Guard at the moment, Burgosaurus, I've been attaching the Chaplain to give the +1 to the wound roll, which helps a lot. The Blade Guard fit in the Impulsor as well. Is it worth it? Is 10 extra attacks worth it? I feel like it is. When's the next painting stream going to come, asks Alex. Thanks so much for the super chat, Alex. I would have been painting tonight and I was going to stream tomorrow, so the next painting stream will probably be Saturday night now. I did actually build those eviscerator wielding death companies, so I've got them to get on the painting table on Saturday. I mean, we could do a Blade Guard versus Terminator video now that the Terminators are even cheaper. Might be interesting actually to do that, like Terminator 20, because the Terminators have like 20 power fists, which are strength 10. The Blade Guard have like 30 mastercrafted power swords, which are strength 7. Slightly different units. The Storm Raven remains unchanged. Yes, it does indeed, Killer. We are not... I don't think there's going to be any giant change to people wanting to play Storm Ravens. We need to consider Grey Knight Terminators as well. 210 points. I haven't done a video on the Grey Knight Terminators. Maybe I'll get to it. I was going to borrow the Imperial Agents Codex, because I must admit I haven't looked at the Terminators too much. How do we feel about Sanguinary Guard at 45 points per model? How many... How many people are thinking they'll field more than 6 Sanguinary Guard now? Mike, thanks so much for the super chat. Is it worth giving Lamartas and Astaroth 10 men each? I think if you want to run both of them, I probably would give them 10 men each. The issue with giving them 10 men each is, I think if you do 2 10-man death companies, I think you, like I said, you could maybe do one more big Death Star unit. So like you could have Dante plus 6 Sanguinary Guard as like your 3rd unit. But then you've basically taken half your points on your list on those 3 units, right? Because Dante plus the Sanguinary Guard is 400, Lamartus plus 10 is 350, Astaroth plus 10 is 345. So yeah, you're basically at like 75 points or something for just those 3 units. So at that point you need to like have some scoring units. And yeah, it really depends. Like I think, like by the time you put in scoring units, trading units, some impulsors, something like that, it could be. I don't know if you can run. Like I don't think you would run a 4th 10-man unit or a 4th Sanguinary Guard unit at that point. Maybe, but I also don't like. Yeah, I mean, Games Workshop have purposely in this balance status like penalized minimum size units, right? Because those little units are the units that can do actions and it doesn't feel like you're giving up much, right? Like you never want to do an action with like Dante plus 6 Sanguinary Guard because you never want like a 400 point unit sitting around essentially with their finger up their ass doing nothing for a turn doing an action, right? You want to do an action on like an 80 point unit of jump intercessors, which they made 90 points now. James is struggling to fit 2 times 10 Death Company jump packs. So 10 for Lamartus for durability and 5 for Astaroth as ablative wounds. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it's fine. I think it's better to field Death Company in 10s, but I understand it can be hard to field 2 10s. I think a 10 and a 5 is possibly fine. I mean, you're not giving up that many. It's only costing you 10 more points. Right? Like, 10 points in the grand scheme of things is nothing. Like, Games Workshop just made Icon and Angel 10 more points, and it's hot garbage. So 10 points here, 10 points there. I mean, a good way to look at it is like my list, right? My list had a 10 Death Company, 2 5 Assault Intercessors, and the 6 Sanguinary Guard. The 6 Sanguinary Guard went down 30 points. The 2 Jump Intercessors went up 10 each. The Death Company went up 10. So I had 4 units before that had like, let's just say those 4 units cost 1,000 points. They still cost 1,000 points. They've just jiggled the points around to make the smaller units more expensive. Because I guess Games Workshop are seeing like lots of people taking those small units. They trade really effectively. And then they can perform actions and stuff, and they don't take up a lot of resources when they're performing actions. Does that make sense? Well, apparently, Thomas, you can only have 2 eviscerator. You can have 1 eviscerator for every 5 man for every 5 Death Company, and that's going to kind of be standard now. They're not going to change that again, I would say. How about 30 Death Company? 10 with Lamartis, 10 with Astaroth, 10 with the Chaplain. I mean, like I said, I think it's hard to run that many 10-man units, right? Like, because what will happen with a 10-man unit was you will jump in and you will kill something, and you need to be killing probably more than that unit cost, right? Because that unit will probably be left in the open when it kills something, or it'll be left exposed, and then your opponent can mop the unit up. And that's one of the reasons I think they've made that 5-man Death Company and the 5-man Jump Intercessors more expensive, because those units can, or previously could, jump out and kill a unit, and then you're not giving up too much, right? Like 5 Death Company for whatever it is, 130 points with jump packs. Before, when they had 20 Power Fists, could kill a crap load of stuff, right? Because 20 Power Fist is like, what, 20 Strength 10 attacks with, like, you know, rerolls to hit. So they could very easily just trade into almost anything. You know, you could throw them into like a knight and just do a boatload of damage and kill it. And yes, the opponent are going to mop up your 5 Death Company for 130 points, but it's not really a big issue because you've traded up. And you trade up and you trade up and you trade up. It's much harder to always trade up with a 10-man unit. Just bear that in mind, right? And it makes it harder. You know, 10-man units are more vulnerable to blast weaponry. They're harder to hide. They're harder to get every unit into combat when you make a charge because they're all strung out. Like, there's negatives to playing 10-man units. Like, it's not as easy to play a 10-man unit as to play a 5-man unit. But you can have a couple, right? Like, my list has... Well, my tournament list had 1 10-man unit, which was 10 Death Company plus Lamar. No, sorry. My tournament list had 10 Sanguinary Guard plus Dante before they changed Sanguinary Guard to only 6s. So I had 10. So I had 1 10-man unit and then 2 little 5-man Death Company units. So now my new list has 1 10-man unit and 1 6 Sanguinary Guard plus Dante. So I basically have 2 big 400-point units. I guess one's like 345, one's 400 points. But like you got to be really on the ball with those units. They have to trade up, and you have to play them really well, and you have to get the most value out of them. And one of the things that I do to kind of guarantee that is, like, I kind of always put those units in strategic reserve, and I kind of always rapid ingress those units, so I can always get the alpha strike out of them. And if you can't get the alpha strike out of them, and what I mean by the alpha strike is, like, your unit hits the enemy unit at max strength and does its maximum damage. If you can't do that, and if you've got 3 times dead and 10 Death Company, you just make that harder for yourself, because that's like more big footprints on the map, more opportunities that you're not going to maximize what they do. If that makes sense, right? James Moffat, the challenge is... I'm going to stop you there, James, and say you've got way too many characters. My list has 3 characters in it, right? There was a time when the game allowed you to take like 7 or 8 characters. If you're spending... I kind of want to say 400 points. It might be less, in my opinion, but if you're spending more than 400 points on characters, unless there's a super good reason to be doing it, then I think you've spent too many points on characters. But like I said, there's many ways to play Blind Angels. I would just say, like, if you're trying to be super competitive, unless there's a really good reason to be over 400 points, I don't like it. I think characters buff units, but like sometimes it's just better to have another unit, right? Like, would you say Mephiston is not included? I'm not including him in my list. I made a video on Mephiston like on Friday, dude. Like, I made like a 40-minute breakdown of him. Go watch the video for Friday. I covered everything. Just and I said that, like, you can play him. I don't like him. My opinion can be different from other people's, you know? Meldar list is 633 in characters. I mean, there's reasons to go over it. There is reasons to go over 400 points. But like Sanguinary, Mephiston, Dante, Lamartis, Astaroth, a captain, and another character. I feel like it's too many, right? Like, at some point, you'd just be better off not having you know, like Lamartes, for example, 110 points, 5 Death Company, 130 points, right? Like at some point, Lamartes, you know, a single guy with like 4 attacks and a 2 damage weapon is not as effective as a 5-man unit, all with, you know, Lamartes has 4 attacks at 2 damage. A Death Company 5-man has, what, 12 attacks at 2 damage and then like 10 more at 1 damage and like a ton more wounds and the same save essentially for the most part. Mephiston said 125 points. Yeah, well, if you watch the video, great. It's your call. Put them in your list. Am I taking him? No. I've run Mephiston enough times to know that his damage output is not reliable. And the way I like to play 40k is very much math orientated, so I like shit to be reliable. What's your opinion on Death Company Dreadnought? It's still too expensive. I still think the Brutalis is better. I've seen GT winning lists with Lamartes, Dantes, Sanguinary, and Sanguinary Priests. Yeah, I mean, you do occasionally see...
Gabriel Matuzovic, L3V147H4N, donated €5 via Super Chat. I have a match on Friday versus Grey Knights. Any general recommendation? I'm new and never played against them. I have IE Assaults, DC.
Man, my first ever game against Grey Knights was when I was 4-0 at a tournament. And I got fucking smashed. It's like the worst game of my life ever. And I went from being basically guaranteed second place to the tournament to not even finishing top 5. Grey Knights are so tricksy. They have they can lift like 2 units off the board every turn. If you get in range of certain units, to shoot them, I believe they can just lift them off the board as well, and just redeploy. They can deploy within 3 inches of your guys and shoot them. Their Dread Knights are horrifically good at killing infantry. I've not got a great record against playing Grey Knights recently. If it's your first game against Grey Knights, you need to read up like a lot. The Dread Knights are really nasty. All their guys have like 2 up armor saves. They can deep strike within 3 inches like every turn. If you've got infiltrators, infiltrators are gonna be so worthwhile. Gabriel, but do you know what? There's a couple of videos on the channel, battle reports of me playing Grey Knights, and I do not have a good record against them. So, you could watch one of them that's just like 6 months old, but Grey Knights are kind of a nemesis for Blood Angels. They've got very good anti-infantry killing weaponry. But it's more the movement shenanigans that's the problem, right? Their detachment lets them pick up 2 units or put 2 units into reserve every turn, I believe. So they're always going to score well on secondaries because they put anything into reserve, and then when they bring them back in from reserve, if you do not have a set of infiltrators on your home field objective, you're just going to lose your home field objective in turn 2 because you'll put a Dread Knight. Or there's another squad, there's a big squad they can take with flamers, and the big squad with flamers is ridiculous. They'll just flame they'll flame a 10-man Death Company unit and basically just wipe it. They're flame, I can't remember what they are, they're pyroblasters or some shit. Grey Knights are an absolute bastard to deal with for Blood Angels. So yeah, I think you need to build your infiltrators before Friday. So you need to stop watching the stream right now and go build your infiltrators. Otherwise, they're gonna be in your backfield. They're gonna be everywhere. The 3-inch deep strike you can't stop. It's 3 units they put in reserve. Thanks. How's the Lost Brethren detachment looking? I made a video on the Lost Brethren detachment. I think I'm going to be playing it on stream next week. Yeah, I think they're called Purifiers. Yeah. They're horrific. Diego says, first time catching a stream, do you have any tips on to handle Necrons? You have to kill units outright to handle Necrons, right? The way you typically beat Necrons is that you stop them using the reanimation protocols by completely wiping the units. If you don't completely wipe the units, they always have like stratagems to reanimate a bunch of guys, and then half the unit comes back to life, and then before you know it, you're fighting against a whole unit again. The one thing about Grey Knights is all their weapons are psychic, or a lot of their weapons are psychic. So if you had characters that give a 4-up feel no pain against psychic, which is like the Terminator Librarian, I believe, or some of the other like if you've got anything that can give you feel no pains against psychic weaponry, that might actually be really good against Grey Knights. But I mean, you'd be tailoring your army pretty significantly at that point. UK Cuban says, I've had an awful day and I need to go to sleep. Could you give me a rundown of what looks good and what looks bad? What looks good is the Sanguinary Guard came down a little bit. Astaroth, Lamartez, and Dante, Mephiston kind of all stayed as is. Death Company went up the tiniest bit. Assault Intercessors with jump packs went up the tiniest bit. Overall, I don't think it changes too much. I think Blood Angels are still strong. The Fight First Enhancement came down a little bit. I think we'll be in an okay spot. It's absolutely wild that we have a new codex, but nothing is competitive now due to... I don't know if I feel like nothing is competitive now. Chase, I've played the Liberator Assault Group 3 times and I've won every game. Is it a bit different? Yes. Is it drastically less competitive? I don't know. I think it's too early to say. I think I need to get like 10 games under my belt. But like, I think our stratagems are better than they were before. I think the Fight First is crazy good as well. Like, I think the Fight First on any character and the Rage Fueled Warrior are going to make up for any of the... They're going to make up for a lot, right? Like, these are 2 once per game super powerful abilities. I don't know. I don't think that the new... the majority of the Grey Knights weapons do have psychic keyword. Okay, I'm going to wrap this stream because we've been live for like 2.5 hours, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Please leave a like if you haven't done that already. I do appreciate that. I do actually have a new tactics video coming out in the morning, which I filmed before I knew any of these points costs. So hopefully I was pretty clever and made a video that's still relative. I definitely tried to. So hopefully, like... Oh no, because this came out a day early. Okay. So I have a new tactics video coming out on Friday. I filmed it, like, yesterday, so it's still coming out. Infiltrators versus Incursors. They're Infiltrators for defending your home field objective. Incursors, if you want to go a little bit more aggressive, but... and Incursors buff shooting, but, I mean, we don't have a lot of shooting anymore. If you're wondering what to build, I think every Blood Angels army is better if they have 5 Infiltrators. I think Infiltrators are still the best unit to put on your home field objective by a long shot. For example, the guy, Gabriel, who's playing Grey Knights tomorrow, if he had Infiltrators, he would be in a much better spot just because his home field objective might actually survive for more than 1 turn or something like that. There's too many times that the Infiltrators are worth their weight in gold. They could have honestly put Infiltrators up like to 110 points and I'd probably still be saying like Infiltrators are the best. Even with Heavy Intercessors coming down to 95. Heavy Intercessors are maybe a little bit more attractive now because they're battle line. I hadn't considered that, but yeah. Okay, yeah. I already asked you to leave a like. New video Friday as always. I'll see you guys in sometime pretty soon. As soon as the live stream ends, you'll be able to put comments on the videos. So, if you got any comments or you got any questions, fire them onto the comments and we'll see if we can talk about them on the next stream. This weekend show, Army show on Sunday, if you are submitting a list for the show on Sunday, please do use the new points. And if you weren't tuned in at the start, apparently the Games Workshop app has now updated. So you can punch in your Blood Angels Codex, you can update your app, you can get the new points in the app. You can use the app as the army builder, etc., etc., etc. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks so much for watching. Peace. Good night.